Wake that ass up
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We have a special guest on the line from the borough of Queens. We have Kenny Smith. Welcome, brother.
Queens, get the money. Let's go.
Queens, get the money.
What's up, my brother?
How are you guys, man? I just want to say y'all have been my entertainment, my political thought, my sports. Y'all been everything during this whole pandemic. I appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate you, man. You know, I was sitting back. Oh, yeah, how have you been quarantining?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what you been doing? How's it been?
This radius of about 3 miles. I've been really in Encino, Los Angeles area. So just been in the valley for 3 months. Haven't been on a plane. Haven't been on any public transportation. I just pay attention to it on the side of caution for a couple of months. It's not gonna, bother me. Like even the whole wearing the mask thing. I'm like, I would only have to really wear it for an hour. If everyone's wrong, so what? But if everyone's right, then nobody dies. All right, it's an hour. So I've always been on that side of caution, just for an hour or two.
Would you have wanted to go work in the bubble?
They're asking us to possibly go down there. I think, those are the kind of things that I look at as privilege. Like, oh, wow, you got to stay in a room for 48 hours. And like, those aren't the things to worry about right now. I think that there's a bigger cause and a bigger, thought process, between the social injustice that's going on and that's not really going on. Let me take that back. That's become more aware to others. So, I think that, there's a lot more going on than complaining about maybe being in the confines of Disney World for 48 hours or a month or two.
But Kenny, if the NBA is coming back, you gotta have inside the NBA. So I would only assume TNT is sending y'all down there to work in the bubble. I would only assume that. Well,
initially we're gonna do our show from like home, and then we're gonna move it to Atlanta, to the studio.
Okay.
And then depending, I guess, how things are going about going into the bubble. But for us, like typically when we go on the road, it's because we want the fandom. So we want, the fans behind us. We're doing the show. So for us to go down in the bubble, for me, would be weird, because then we're not next to the players. We're not talking to the players. And then we don't have the fans. So we might as well either stay at home or do it like you guys are doing at home and have still interaction, or do it in Atlanta if we're going to be in a social distance studio. But to do it with no fans when you really go for the fans, to me, doesn't make too much sense.
Do you think the NBA should have came back, or do you think it's too soon?
In what reason? In terms of health-wise or social?
Health-wise, like you see Russell Westbrook just tested positive. They still don't know what's going on. There's still players that's getting food outside the bubble. Do you think it's, hey, maybe we should hold off a little bit?
Well, I think health-wise, you gotta go on the side of caution, because I would have, only because it's the most contagious virus we've seen in our lifetime and the most deadly. So we're not, no one knows the answers. But the one thing that you really have to understand, I think, is there is no correct way. There are going to be guys who are going to test positive. I think knowing everyone would being negative on the way down, like as you got there, you're all there and you know who's going in and who's not, instead of this kind of like, oh, well, now he's not here and now he is. I think that's a little cumbersome. In terms of socially, I don't think that the NBA or any athlete, any entertainer has started the awareness of people who weren't aware about social injustice. So I don't think people playing is going to stop it. If it does, then it's the wrong cause to me. Like we're in the wrong mindset from the door. If watching a basketball game for 2.5 hours is going to make you think, oh, life is good and it's great for everyone, and all racial injustice is not here, then you probably weren't going to be caught in the right movement anyway.
Right.
I'm glad you said that, man, because, people who say things like the NBA doesn't need to come back because it would be a distraction. I'm like, why do we act like activism hasn't happened in sports before? Why do we act like sports protests are not a thing? So how could it be a distraction when those brothers going to be on the court still fighting for the cause?
Right. I think, I understood what Kyrie Irving was even saying. Like, I get it. I know what his initial thought process was. And I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong or right, Charlamagne, but I think certain people don't have the voice he does. So like LeBron, Kyrie, KD, those guys speak. Everybody, it don't matter what time of year people listen. But, what about Spencer Dunwoody? What about Montrezl Harrell? Like, those guys they don't have microphones in their face. So now they get an opportunity, who may have a better idea than some of the guys who have bigger voices, if they want to get in terms of letting the world know how they feel about it and how they, their struggles growing up.
That's a phenomenal point. That's a phenomenal point. I never thought about that. That's a phenomenal point.
Now, what do you think about in the WNBA, Washington Mystics player, Elena Del Donne? She was saying that she has Lyme disease, and so she was trying to opt out of playing right now, but they did say that she's not at risk. So in a situation like that, what would you say?
What do you mean you're not at risk? What are you talking about? Like, everybody's at risk. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, the reason that you guys are together in the studio, because you guys could be at risk. Like, correct. You guys have the, #1 show everywhere. You're not together. Like, it doesn't, that, to me, that logic, if that is actual and factual. I don't know what was actually said to her. But if that is the case, that would be inaccurate. Everyone's at risk, I think being in New York also, or being a New Yorker, you have a bigger sensitivity because you were the first. Like, I just remember, like, when it was like, I think it was like 25,000 people had it. They were like, oh, the number's at 25,000. And I was like, how do I know 11? Like, if it's only 25,000 people, how do I know 11? And I was like, that's impossible. So it was, because it was happening in New York was the first being tested. We have a different sensitivity to it. And so that is the most ridiculous statement, that she's not at risk of anything.
Right. Because she has Lyme disease, so it could be way worse for her because she has Lyme disease. So they're saying she can't.
I know people who had nothing. I know 11-year-old kids in Los Angeles who've had COVID, who was very sick for 2 weeks. Very sick. No, I mean, he's 11. He plays basketball every day. He runs around, no problem. Very sick for 2 weeks. That is the most idiotic statement I've ever heard, if that's true.
Now, are you excited about the NBA, and who do you think takes it this year? Because it seems like it's a setup for LeBron to get a championship in LA. That's what it seems like.
I thought it was. I'm going with the Knicks.
You're right.
They're in a different bubble. They're in a different bubble.
They're in their own bubble.
I said the young teams, I think, have a better shot than they would have, because one, there's no home court advantage. A lot of times, young players, the anxieties that they have playing on the road, they don't have that now. The only anxiety is like, can I eat this? Can I talk to this person? Can I shake hands with him? So that's a different anxiety. Then this feels like a tournament. It doesn't feel like the NBA. It feels like this is not last year. I don't even remember what happened. I paid to remember what happened last year. I don't remember everything that happened last year. And it's like you just like they're dropped into this new season, like 3.5 months. Like, guys are coming back with beards and different bodies. And like, this is like the continuation of something new. Like, if you were a second-year guy, this would be your third year in the league. How they will come back. The rookies, they're going to come back like it's their second year. They've had time to evaluate, reevaluate things. So this is a tournament. All bets are off. Younger players, I think, will flourish in this environment more than they would have if they were playing on the road.
Has there ever been a time
your Jet? I was going to say, I see you have on your Jet Academy merch, and so I know you're taking your talents virtual right now when it comes to coaching. Yeah,
well, I think for me, with the social distancing and the COVID, I was like, well, why should your development stop if you want to make your high school team or get better, or you want to make your AAU team or your high school team and you want to be a better player? For me, the single most reason I thought that I made the NBA was my workouts in the summer. Single most reason. And so I just created a virtual academy and I pulled in Kemba Walker, New Yorker. I pulled in Trae Young, Victor Oladipo, all NBA All-Stars, WNBA MVP Breonna Stewart, Brittany Griner, and we become your personal trainer for an hour and a half. And what differentiated is live. We do it live. You come on live, you can answer questions, you can upload videos, and it's jetacademycamp.com, jetacademycamp.com, live virtual training. Guys will be in the bubble. You know, Kimbo's in the bubble. He's going to be doing it from the bubble, so you get to hear what he's talking about in the bubble. But again, for me, the single most reason I feel with my brother Vince Smith, who's a known trainer in the New York area, like that's the single most reason. JetAcademyCamp.com. I got better in the summer.
Can a virtual basketball camp be effective? And I see people train virtually when they just, working out weights, Pilates and stuff like that. But can a virtual basketball camp be effective?
Yeah, we're from that Billy Blanks, you know what I mean? Put the toe
Exactly.
Tybo, and it's effective in this regard because there's individual skills you need as a basketball player. So you got to you need ball handling skills, you need shooting skills. But the difference is when you do a tape, no one can stop and go, well, oh, this is why you do it. No, and when you do it, this is what you need to look for. That's what Kemba Walker, Trae Young, myself, I can say, no. You're going to do that when you see this. You're going to do this why. And I think, it was funny. I was talking to Kemba, and Kemba was like, look, I'll show all my secrets, but if I see Patrick Beverly and all these guys logging on, we stop at the session. I'm not giving all all these players coming on. I said, but that is it. It's a different sport where you can actually get better by yourself. It's one of the few sports you can do that.
I want to go back to the NBA real quick. Has there ever been a time where an NBA season has been scrapped mid-season, where there's no championship, no playoffs, no nothing?
No, I don't think there's ever been scrapped. I think we've started late and we've come back, and then we started the season, but we because of lockout or strike or what have you. But there's never been it's stop in the middle. No, we come back and then we scrap it again. This is unusual, man. And again, just for me, I think socially, I think that it's important that the largest group of recognizable African-American men, the wealthiest group of African-American men, and could put together the biggest impact if they collectively come with a solution-based thought process about social injustice. They can do it faster than anybody. Anybody. They come from the communities. They know what the community need. And then I don't know a group like that. I don't know other group of men, especially now the way the salaries are, collectively of Black men with that accumulation of wealth and that recognition. All they have to do is come up with a solution-based thought process of what this, the next step could be, and collectively do it faster than anybody.
But you're asking people to do things that are outside of their skill set, though. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect, LeBron James to be Tamika Mallory, or I don't expect, Kyrie Irving to be Angela Rye or Bakari Sellers, or these people who do this on the regular. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think You're putting too much on them by asking them that.
Well, and that's what I said. I said we're at a time, Charlamagne, is not. We're at a time where you don't have to come up with the idea, but you better support an idea. Yeah. And so yes. I put that on. When we were talking, I think Charlamagne before, I said, yourself, Angela, Tamika, as you said, Van, all of you guys have, and you guys here, Angela and Envy, you guys have an ability to come up with ideas. It's important now that you say, well, I don't know how to do a virtual basketball camp, but I could support it. You know what I mean? We're at a time where I don't know how to create social change, but I need to figure out what to support. And if you don't figure out what to support, you are wrong right now.
I can produce a documentary series to bring more attention to what's been happening, and I can put my money and name behind that. There's so many things
you just have to support something.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You don't have the luxury anymore to go, I don't know how to do it. There's too many people doing it right now. And Charlamagne, would you not take any NBA player call? Like with Tamika, with Angela, not take any NBA player call?
Of course.
Right.
They got the money, they got the power, they got the resources, they can bring awareness to things fast as hell.
Influence. Absolutely.
Right. So my first call, no lie, when I went, and he knows this, when I was in the thing, I was listening to Envy on Instagram Live, play music, but my first call about political thought process was Charlamagne. I was like, yo, Charlamagne, what can we do? Then next one, I called Angela Rye. Then Tamika. I just was like, what can I do? I don't know how to maybe implement it, but what could I do?
You know, Charles Barkley said something. Charles Barkley said something that I agree with. He says that with all of this symbolism happening, you know, I guess he was talking about the changing of the jerseys where you can put a cause on the back of your jerseys. People are forgetting that we still need to change the system. So what do you think the NBA as an organization, as a corporation could do to help change the actual system? Not just the players, but the NBA.
Yeah, I think the NBA could finance an independent board of prosecutors and say, we're going to finance that. So prosecutors don't prosecute police officers because they work hand in hand every day together. Police use prosecutors as as expert witnesses. So it's difficult, as we've seen, or impossible to get convictions on crooked police. So, okay, we're going to fund that. We're going to fund the fact that there's an independent board. So now, if you need that to happen, we'll do that nationally. That's it. Each team puts a certain amount of money, each player possibly, whatever it is, we'll fund that. So now there's an independent board that prosecutes police officers who are corrupt. Let's start there. Simple.
Right.
I like that. And, you know, Robert Smith, I don't know if you saw Robert Smith's 2% plan, where Robert Smith is asking these corporations to put 2% of their net income into black banks. Like, I feel like the NBA could do something like that as well. Like, all of these different franchises and organizations put 2% of their net income into black communities, into black banks, into black organizations.
And the funny thing is, I 100% agree with Robert Smith. You know, the other thing is, like, making us aware who those are, those players. Like, there are players, if they knew, like right now, like, I have no idea where the nearest black-owned bank is in Encino. I have no idea. So the awareness of it is important, because then I might, like, when I know where that restaurant is, or when I know where that, when I needed to get things that are personally African-American needs of our community, I know where to go. I know the drugstore where to go get that. I know the hair care place. I know I know those places. I know the Jamaican spot. Right. I know where those, but ask any of us, not 10 people, where's the nearest black-owned bank near you? 10 out of 10 will say, I have no idea where it is.
No, that is
I want to go back to the NBA season. What are some great ideas to make this more exciting for the fans to be watching at home?
Well, I think the home experience won't be much different.
It's going to be trash.
But you think about it. You don't really watch who's in the stands when you're watching a television game.
Nah, but it's the crowd. I watched wrestling with my son like a couple of months ago when it first happened, and there was no crowd. It just wasn't the same. When they announced the wrestlers, it was just like no crowd. There's no cheering.
That's wrestling is fake. Wrestling is fake, though, man.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Richie said it's not. I mean, but I think the competition may bring out the lack of fans. I hope. That's my hope. I get what you're saying. I do get it. But I hope the competition between 12 guys in one area, like, it's kind of like when I watch those baking shows, and it's like, you know, you're going to put the best bakers in here, and you got the 12, and we're doing the elimination, and you're like, man, I'm still watching. I'm binge watching this silly show about sugar rush. Like, I'm binge watching. But I think the collection of greatness can bring out, hopefully, we'll see. I'm not gonna don't quote me on it, because it might look like trash. So I'm gonna leave it alone.
But are they gonna mic the players where we can hear the players talk ish to each other? Like, see, that'll be good too. If it's like the part where players might curse, but that'll be good if they really can talk ish to each other, and you can see LeBron back somebody down and say, "Yo, get up," and then run the other way, and that would be all.
Well, we do that already, and there's a 7-second delay. Here's the back secret. There's always a 7-second delay between natural broadcast and real broadcast. So if you're a big gambler and you're able to have your phone ready with your bookie, you might be like you get 7 seconds ahead. So, but it's a 7-second delay because of the cursing and foul language, whatever. But so they will mic players, coaches. You're gonna hear things that you typically might not have heard too. So because it is a quiet arena. So you're going to hear calls and sets and you're going to hear guys on the bench more about, like, you ever watch a game and you see the guy make a shot and he looks at the bench and you're always like, what the hell did he say to make him want to look? You're going to hear what he says now. Oh, you're going to hear what he says now to make him look back.
I think it'll be fine. I was watching. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I remember Jalen Rose also saying it's going to be really difficult for the single players that aren't there with their families and can't bring anybody in and no hookups happening. So that might be interesting too, what kind of stories are going to come out from that.
Well, you have immaturity everywhere. So I'm not going to say that, no, there's not immaturity, obviously, in the NBA. There's young players. But you always hear stories about, I used to hear like Swiss Beats being in the basement and doing music, and Jay-Z walking around New York rhyming all day. Like, those are the bubble. Those are the moments that you've been as a player. Like, you've been locked in to be focused, to be one of the best 350 of something. And those who are going to rise and ascend beyond that are the ones who are going to be champions. Those are the guys who become champions. Like, to be able to say, I'm going to sacrifice something, nightlife, fun, girls, whatever you have, that in a WNBA side, whatever it is that you're sacrificing, that's what makes the cream of the crop. That's what makes LeBron. Like, the way he takes care of his body for these 20 years or whatever he's been playing. It's not the fact that we see him on the yacht with the wine glass. Those moments are there, but they're far and few. So for me, I've been in a bubble. I've been in Left Rack City where I'm like, I go home, I go to school, I run up them stairs, I jump rope in the house. I've done that for 12, 13 years. Like, I understand what that is. Like, this would just be like, I got to do it for 2 months to be a champion. I'm going to do it.
So basically no entanglements in the bubble is what you're saying.
Well, there's going to be immaturity. I'll leave it as that. There will be immaturity. I'm not going to say
get snuck in.
There's going to be some like, he's got to go back to quarantine, moments. There will be some that.
Now back to the Jet Academy. Now, what ages are for the Jet Academy? What are the ages that you're targeting?
I think typically it's 8 to 18, but right now, because of social distancing, like LA, they just closed every gym again. So like, if you play rec ball, like, damn, I want to hoop. So, all right, give me a workout with Kemba Walker. Let me get a workout with Kenny Smith. Let me get a workout with Trae Young. Because you still, like, in your backyard, you do your workout and you get your shots up. And the difference is it's not like these, elementary workouts. It's kind of, these are for people who are trying to get a sweat. And, again, jetacademycamp.com. We become your personal trainer for an hour and a half a day. Live, you could type in, just like on any other live session, you could type, hey, I see this is going wrong. We answer the questions. You upload your video, I'll be like, yo, Envy, man, your right hand is way off, bro. Like, you got to elbow in. We give you all of that insight in 48 hours, a different, kind of thought process.
Gotcha.
Y'all were talking about nobody being at the games. I was watching the TBT 2020. I caught one of those games on ESPN. I think that was like last week, and that seemed cool. There wasn't nobody there.
Well, most of the time as a player, you play in front of no one. Playing in front of crowds is the part that makes the anxiety and makes it different. The 82 games is different from the practices and everything that you come up with going there. You play in the park, you play pickup, you play together. So you play. That's what makes the game, like, again, the anxiety of the games and the home court crowds makes it different. But playing in front of no one is just a serious, intense environment now that it's never this intense, though, like where guys have something on the line. It's like, well, at the end of practice, you got to run sprints or you're getting ready. But now it's like, no, you still lose and you're out. Like that to me is going to be, so the intensity of play is not going to change. It's just the dynamic of a fan and how the networks are going to be able to showcase visually the same, make it feel the same, and make it familiar. That's going to be the network's job more than anything else.
It's probably going to feel like those, like when we saw The Last Dance, those dream team pickup games.
Exactly. So Magic Johnson said the most competitive game he ever played in, we've only saw like 3 minutes of it. Like they had it on, like on that dream, like that Michael Jordan documentary. That was the most competitive game he says he's ever played in his life. And we didn't get to see it. So now it's the same environment. Those guys play with a different like a different intensity in those environments. You heard all the trash talking, Magic. Come on, Michael. You're not going to get me. Michael's like, dude, you're old. I got you. You can't guard me. Like that type of environment continues in this setting. I'm hoping it's not trash, MB, but there is an element that can be trash. There is an element.
Do you have any predictions? You have any predictions for this season?
I'm going to go, it's going to be a young team in the finals against a veteran. It's not going to be Lakers or Clippers and then Milwaukee. It's going to be a young team versus a vet team, because I think one of the young teams is going to surprise somebody. The Bostons, the Denvers, the Dallases, those young teams who don't have any pressure now. Like they don't have 22,000 people screaming behind their neck. Like they're going to flourish in a way that they've never flourished before.
I wouldn't sleep on the Pelicans.
Exactly. Like now, this is not Zion's first year. This is his second year. He's been off for 3.5 months. He came back the first time he was overweight, fat. Mm-hmm. Now he comes back, he looks like Thanos. Like he's like, it's a different, that's not the same guy who left the bubble, like before this bubble started. It's not the same person. So for us to kind of think that it is, would be fooling ourselves.
Right. I wanted to ask you, Kenny, I saw you, you said that if Michael Jordan hadn't retired, he wouldn't have went 8-0. So I'm assuming that you're saying the Rockets would have beat the Bulls.
Yes, I think we would have won. I think Michael Jordan, let's prerequisite with this. He's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen. I don't think he even had the greatest teams those 2 years. That's the difference. I think, no Horace Grant, no – people forget Horace Grant and Dennis Rodman weren't with the Bulls in those 2 years that we won. They were already traded. We had seen in the documentary there was some, like, dissension going on in the team. Scottie Pippen, not a contract. So I don't think that team would have beat us. That team had a lot of difficulty with us in the regular season. Most people don't know the first 3 championships. I know it's the regular season. We went 5-1 against them. We only lost one game in the regular season because we only played them twice because we were in the West. So we didn't – I don't think that they had the best team. Michael was the best player, but he wouldn't have had Rodman. They would have been too little. And that was the reason I think they lost to Orlando when he came back as number 45, because he had 55 in Madison Square Garden with Shaq. He had 55. He was averaging 30 in the playoffs, but they were too little. So Shaq dominated inside. Penny Hardaway dominated inside. Offensive rebounds, Horace Grant. We swept that team. We didn't even have a problem. We beat them 4-0, the team that they lost to. So that team wasn't good enough.
Interesting.
Michael was great. He was still the best. He's still the best.
Yeah. If the NBA season ends in October, when do they start next season? Has anybody given that any thought?
I think right around Christmas. It will start again, and we've done that before. Like we started late in Christmas, and then they're trying. Then it'll, because a lot of people traditionally they've said it's kind of known like our ratings don't pick up until Christmas. Like. Mm-hmm. They really pick up because football has kind of ended. Baseball has ended in October. So everyone is like, okay, now it's time for basketball, to kind of pay attention. So I think that starting at Christmas time in the winter, it will feel a little bit familiar because you probably were watching the Jets, the Giants, if you're New Yorkers, and that football up until that point, more importantly anyway. You're not paying attention to the first 10 games or the 15 games of the NBA regular season.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kenny, give them the information about the Jet Academy one more time.
JetAcademyCamp.com, your personal trainer for an hour and a half a day. We start next week. NBA All-Stars, WNBA All-Stars, JetAcademyCamp.com. We're ready for you.
I feel like we should work. I feel like we should do the workout. I felt no, Envy, you can't train anyone.
If you need me to show some kids how to, shoot or to drug, whatever you need, I'm here for you, Ken. Just
Hey,
I see Envy play basketball. It's not pretty.
Hey, Angela, I watch. See, he realized like he puts his life on Instagram. He's got a reality show. It's called Instagram Live, and I've watched him and his son go at it in a lot of different all the sports y'all do in hooping, and y'all do the racing, the family. Come to the academy.
I've never seen Envy beat his son at anything.
That kid was 15 that dunked on me. He was 6'6". What could I do? What could I do?
I would come to JetAcademyCamp.com. I'll show you how to get out the way.
All right. All right. It's Kenny Smith. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning. Thank you, brother.
Don't get embarrassed.
Thank you, guys. All right. Appreciate y'all so much.